Today is one of those special videos where I share a story of hope, as I like to call these real case studies from members of my Hope Fertility program. Have you ever thought that you may need to use an egg donor? Or have you been told that this would be your best option for conception? Using an egg donor is not for everyone, but for those who are open to this option, it can be the difference in having a successful pregnancy or not. So in this video, we're going to talk about how one of the members of my Hope Fertility coaching program decided that using an egg donor was the right path for her. We're also going to hear her tell her own story and how it all worked out for her. If you're new here, welcome to Fertility TV, the place to be if you want to improve your fertility naturally. I've been helping couples get pregnant for over 20 years with my Hope Fertility coaching program and physically here in my clinic in San Diego. If you want my help as well, then click on the link below to apply to qualify for the Hope program. You can talk to a real person on my team to discuss your case and see if this is the best next step for you. Okay, let's hear from Carla now.
My name is Carla B. Harry. I'm 46 years old. Joined the Hope program a couple of years ago. I have been on this fertility journey about 4 years. And when I had just turned about 42, I always knew that I wanted to have children in my life. I always just assumed that I would have children. I assumed it would. I never thought about the fact that having a child would be a challenging process. I just decided that I was going to pursue having a child by myself. I have friends who have used sperm donors, and it just started to seem very, the more that I thought about it, it seemed like, okay, this is it. It's something I can do. So I started the process when I was 42. Retrieval, and again went into thinking like, this is it, this is going to be, I'm going to get my embryos. I ended up at that point having there were 7 eggs retrieved, 3 of them fertilized, all 3 of them made it to day 5, and I did at that point decide to do genetic testing and PGT testing, and the clinic scrapped one of them. I wish I went back in time to ask what happened with that embryo. But they tested and they both came back abnormal.
So I want to stop here for a second and just comment briefly. One is, I've been working with Carla for a long time, and Carla started her fertility journey well before she started working with us, as you can hear, and she's already shared with you. She's a single woman who by choice has wanted to have a family and have a child, which I admire and love so much. And she's been determined and committed to make this happen for herself, which is amazing. And she said, I thought this was going to be simple and straightforward. I was 42, no big deal. We're going to go forward. I'm going to use a sperm donor. We're going to create embryos. And what you'll start to hear over the course of her journey, and it is a journey, is that she kept hitting these roadblocks over time, different roadblocks. Some were a byproduct of the process, fertility, and some were things she just didn't know about in her specific health that she unraveled as she was going through this. And as such, her treatment, her care needed to be adjusted and modified to accommodate for where she was at any given time. And she did her first roadblock was that she did her first retrieval, had some eggs, fertilized them, created embryos, and they came back abnormal. So now she needed to figure out what she needed to do.
And again, I was devastated. At this point, I was 43. And, at this point, I had paid probably $30,000 to $40,000 out of pocket, and had nothing, and couldn't understand how, like, everything about my body felt healthy. I was exercising, numbers looked good. And it was really after that point that I was watching YouTube videos. I kept seeing Dr. Marc's videos, and I really, he was giving great information. He had a good vibe. Um, I was, of course, skeptical, like, am I really contacting this man in California? Um, but I did, and I think I had my first conversation with you, Anna, and then um, I ended up deciding to join the program, and it has been just night and day difference. Like every day, I'm so thankful. I really feel like I probably wouldn't be in the process anymore if it for and Lonica and in the Hope community, like the other women in the community. They're
I've got to stop here for a second and just comment for a moment. So she she comments like she was hesitant, which I'm sure many of you are watching these videos like, I'm going to reach out to someone from YouTube to work with them on my fertility care, right? And that was her exact thought. But then you heard her say she's grateful every day. And every time I speak to her, she expresses this as well, which I appreciate. It's not necessary, but I appreciate. She says she's grateful every day for joining the program and for having the support that she needs. And having the support that she needs throughout the process at every juncture from me, my team, and from the Hope community at large. And this is one of the most valuable pieces that we offer in the Hope program, is that ongoing support. Like, I speak to women every week, the same person, right? Or the same people every week, because they have new questions, things come up, their fertility journey changes, and they need support. And that's exactly what she's referring to right now. And that's one of the biggest values. And these aren't my words, these are hers and all the other women that we support. They say the same thing over and over. So Carla continues.
There have been so many times when I have reached out for moral support, for specific support about vitamins and supplements, but just knowing that somebody is there for myself as a single person has been essential. What I've realized is that like fertility clinics do not give you emotional support. And, I was facing barrier after barrier and heartbreak after heartbreak. And then just to have people there who really cared and really took the time to know me and know my story. I ended up connecting with Dr. Marc. I had my initial call with Onika, and then I got my plan and started on a new round of supplements. There were some things that they were able to pick out that started on supplements supporting my pituitary and things that like no other naturopath or doctor picked out, like that. Okay, well, if my estrogen's a little off and my prolactin's a little off, that might mean there's something off with my pituitary. And so started supports for like my pituitary gland, support for my thyroid, and I started doing Chinese medicine herbs, so TCM herbs. I was doing acupuncture, but started doing moxa and castor oil packs, and then I started, really importantly, this autoimmune paleo, this AAP diet. And I was able to, within like about 6 months, my AMH went from 15.7 up to 24.
I got to stop here just because for some of you listening, it's a different reference range that they use in Canada. So what you need to hear from her in terms of AMH is that it went up, and it went up considerably from following the protocol. So that's, number one. The other thing I want to highlight from what she said is that she got a customized plan based on her specific needs. You heard her talk about some of those things. And that's exactly what we do within the program. I review the case, I understand what's going on with each individual, and then I create a plan for each one of these members that is specifically unique to them based on their history and their findings. And that's exactly what Carla was just referencing.
And so then for myself at that point, I was 43, and all of these messages tell you your AMH is only going to go down. You can never fix your ovarian reserve. I just realized that's so false, because I was able to, within 6 months, I was older than at the beginning, and I was able to get my AMH up into like the high category, which was like just it was amazing to really see that that was possible. So I did a second egg retrieval then, and supported by Dr. Marc and Lonika throughout. And at that point, I added a few other things in, like some growth hormones. And at that point, I really like doubled my numbers. The second retrieval, I got 14 eggs retrieved, 7 of them fertilized, and I ended up with 4 embryos. And 3 of them were graded pretty well. I decided to not genetically test at that time. In conversation with Dr. Marc, just talked about the idea that, I didn't want to cause any other damage to the embryos, and really just thought, like, I've put so much into these embryos that, I want to trust that at least a couple of them are going to be good. I was told that, okay, you can probably still conceive naturally.
So I don't want to spend time in this video talking about genetic testing and my thoughts and so forth. I think I've discussed those in the past, but this is exactly these are things that we discuss with our members, right? She had to make a decision about how she wanted to handle that. We discussed the pros and cons of genetic testing, what made sense based on her specific situation, and then she was able to make a decision that worked for her, right? This is all part of the ongoing support and the customization that we give within the scope of the HOPE program. And I just want to highlight that just a moment.
Or conceive with my own egg through IVF. Again, I was using a sperm donor as a single person. But for me, it really came down to asking myself the question, like, at what cost? By this point, I was about 44. 45. And, when I really started to look at my life, what I want is to be a mother and into this world. But, I also started looking at, so it's been a long journey, and I want to have the capacity to meet somebody and finish grad school and do work that I love. And, I want my parents to be alive and well, to be grandparents. I really looked at the process then of using my own eggs at 45. I knew that I could do it. It could possibly be like at least 3 more retrievals to get the eggs and embryos that I needed at that point. And financially, as a single person, I just felt like it was too much. Emotionally, physically, financially, the thought of going back through like all those needles, putting my body through those hormones. So, this idea of donor eggs. And, I had a really great conversation with Dr. Marc about it. And, he was able to say to me that he knows his youth.
So she cuts out. I'm not sure why the connection's a little bit off here, and we kind of skip some words from time to time from Carla. But it's important that each one of us make decisions at different junctures of the journey. And Carla was at a place, she's single, wanting to be a mom for many reasons, as you just heard. She also wants to have, continue on with her life and her studies and so forth. And she had to make a decision with a certain amount of resources that she had, how she was going to approach things and what was the best direction for her to move forward. And so she made that decision after conversations that we had, that egg donor was the best choice for her. And then, we talked about different resources and so forth. But the biggest question that I always hear, which she's commenting on here, is, if we're using an egg donor, will that baby be mine, and how am I connected to it genetically? I'm telling you, what she's about to tell you is that no couple has ever regretted. They've never come back to me and said, oh, I wish we never used an egg donor. They are thrilled to be parents. And in the end, that's the most important thing, because we want to be parents. We want to have that experience in life. Life is about experiences and growth. There's no bigger experience, potentially better experience, and there's no bigger growth than being a parent. And that's exactly what Carla wanted.
And, I started talking to friends who have both biological and non-biological children, and they were just so reassuring, is telling me that, oh my gosh, like these are your children, and the love of biological children is the same, especially if you're carrying these children in your body. And I just started, I think I started seeking information, um, and stories to reassure and support that choice. And they're definitely from a period of it's a process and a period of grieving that idea that society tells you that it has to be your own DNA. And the thing that I really wish that clinics did differently is to present the idea of donor eggs as being an equally valuable choice, because often the idea of donor eggs is as oh, this is your last ditch option, or this is a final choice. And I wish it was presented differently as like, okay, here's a number of like really valuable. You could use your own, could use donor eggs. And either way, you're going to have a child that you'll love.
So I want to comment on this piece because Carla does mention it. She wishes that, clinics would bring this up sooner or present it differently. I think there are clinics, maybe not the ones she was working with specifically, but there are clinics that do present it in that way, or present it sooner. Look, it's hard to present something like that. There's a lot of individuals or couples who are not interested in using a donor. There are a lot that that's never going to be an option for them, and there are a lot that are sensitive when that gets brought up. And so I think we have to be careful of how we do that. I also think there are clinics that might bring up the use of donor because it serves them a little bit more, right? Because success rates are higher for them, without giving the couple or individual, like in Carla's case, the option and the choice to succeed on their own first. And so it's a difficult situation, but I understand where she's coming from, and I don't disagree. I think that just needs to be handled in the proper manner. Yeah.
I pray have a successful transfer. So, it's definitely been a long journey, a very emotional journey, a lot of sadness and devastation and heartbreak and hope, and being in this program has really allowed me to move through all of these stages and move through the process, having no support base there. I really feel like Monique and Dr. Marc know me personally, and they actually really care. And I've got phone calls from them. I've got I just really feel so so grateful for their support.
This piece is something, again, I'm going to mention it. For me personally, just to hear her say that, it means so much to me, because it's exactly what I wanted when I decided to create the Hope program. And the number one question I think that we get is, will Marc know my case? Will Dr. Marc be able to understand me and connect with me and know who I am and connect with my case to personalize it? I hope what you get from Carla is that 100% that is the case. My goal is to know each individual person and couple that we're supporting personally, and intimately in their case so that we can support you as a unique individual. And that's what I strive for. And I know that we're either succeeding in that or very, very close to that, because this is the feedback that I get. Okay. I know when I speak to everybody, I know their case personally, and that means the world to me. And to hear Carla be able to say that tells me we're on the right path. But our job's not done, not only with Carla, but with all the others and with all of you, right? My job is to really support all of you. And I want to see successes across the board. And I want for all of you to feel supported throughout this difficult process so you can make those decisions a little bit easier, a little smoother, hopefully a little quicker, and get to the results that you're looking for. So if you're ready to get personalized fertility coaching like Carla, head over to marksklar.com/discovery call to speak to a real person on my team so we can identify if having me as your fertility coach is the right next step for you. Now I want to share this video with you that shares all of my tips about a solo journey to motherhood. Check it out right here. And until the next video, stay fertile.